Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexi Otts here Saturday morning. We always share the love on Saturday morning. Share the Love Club this morning. And we're doing staff for the Raptors today. Dr. Alex McKechnie. I want to get his title right. He is the Vice President of Player Health and Performance for the Toronto Raptors. In fact, he is a vice president on our team because he's such an integral, important part of our coaching staff that we gave him a very prestigious title. And I'm sure that the earnings that he makes is commiserate with the prestige of being a vice president in the Toronto Raptors, and he is well worth it. I bet you Steve Ballmer would hire him in a second to come to the Clippers and help him with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and all the injury issues they've had over the last 5 years since Kawhi left Toronto. I thought about this week when the Clippers were eliminated from the playoffs by the Suns, that, if they had just had Kawhi Leonard for their games, they could have done way better in the postseason against the Suns. But no, Kawhi was not available for injury reasons. And it made me really realize how special and how lucky we were in 2019 when we won the championship that Kawhi was kept healthy. That it seems like a year of Kawhi being healthy is an anomaly compared to a year where he isn't, and he's usually sitting on the bench most of the whole year, if not most of the playoffs. So I really wanted to think about, why were we successful with Kawhi in our 1 year when he was in a Raptors uniform? Well, it's really is a big reason is Dr. Alex McKechnie. So in some ways, the investment in him to be a vice president in the Raptors and be in charge of our sports science and medicine is really, really smart. It's a super, super smart investment. He's a symbol of why this Raptors franchise is one of the best franchises in the whole entire league, because we have quality, we have excellence, and we have amazing people in certain positions that are the top of their field. And he honestly is. He really, really is. I don't know if you guys know this, but Dr. Alex is a 6-time NBA champion. That championship that we won with the Raptors in 2019 is not his first rodeo. This man won 5 championships with the Lakers during the 2000s with Shaq and Kobe. All those championships that Kobe got and Shaq got, Dr. Alex was there and on their staff for it. In fact, Dr. Alex has a very, very special connection to Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal was in big trouble with his career. He had a bad injury, and he was looking like he may have to retire early, not even 10 years into his career. And somebody sent him to British Columbia in around 1999 to Dr. Alex. He had started his career. It's really weird. Dr. Alex started his career in the 70s, and he was really doing other sports. He came to basketball in a very roundabout way. He started in soccer with the Vancouver Whitecaps, and then he was even the sports science medicine guy for Jimmy Connors in tennis. The great Jimmy Connors, us old heads have been around will know who Jimmy Connors is, a very, very famous professional tennis player from the 70s and 80s. And he was around Jimmy Connors for quite a while in the 70s. In the 80s, he was his dude, his guy that came and fixed him up after games and was his sports science and medicine guy. So Dr. Alex is varied in the sports that he works with. He doesn't just work with basketball. He's worked with boxing, tennis, soccer, hockey. He's worked the gamut of sports, and he has knowledge in restorative medicines and helping people heal up and come back after very intense competition. So this is his thing, and Shaq loves him. Oh my gosh. If you bring up Dr. Alex McKechnie around Shaquille O'Neal, he will light up like a light bulb, and he'll just talk so many amazing, nice things about him. He liked him so much. That's how he got involved in the Lakers staff. That he single-handedly saved Shaq's career in some ways, and Shaq repaid him by bringing him in and put him on the Lakers staff. And that's why he was around with the Lakers from 2001 until 2010 or something, 2012, and basically there for all those championships that Kobe and Shaq were getting together with Phil Jackson, Ron Harper, Robert Horry, all those kind of guys were on those teams with the Lakers in the 2000s. So I don't know if you guys knew all that stuff about Dr. Alex, that he's actually a vice president on our team. He's best friends with Shaq, and he used to work with Jimmy Connors. I found that stuff out yesterday. That was pretty cool. Now, Dr. Alex hopefully is not in trouble for any kind of thing, as far as like he's probably ensconced in his position in the Toronto Raptors franchise, that I don't think there's any trouble or worry that he's going to go somewhere else. He's got a very, very good salary, a very, very good job, and I'm sure he very much enjoys it. Also, he's getting up there. He's 71 years old, and I bet you somebody may try and poach him. Somebody probably has tried to poach him a few times since the championship, and it hasn't happened. And this may be why Masai and Larry Tannenbaum upped his pay scale and also his title and made him more prestigious after the championship, because they realized how valuable he is. He really, really is valuable. Kawhi Leonard is very much loves the man and knows that he can keep him out on the court healthy because of what he does for him. And that is part of the reason why Kawhi himself very much values Dr. Alex. It's almost like he needs Dr. Alex. It's almost like you should have stayed in Toronto just because of Dr. Alex, Kawhi Leonard, because you would have gotten more games played probably in the last 4 years if you had still been in Toronto, rather being in the Lakers, or rather than being on the Clippers. I apologize. It's funny. There's a report about Kawhi saying that he just doesn't communicate with his teammates or his coaches. That's not surprising. We kind of understood that in some ways about his 1 year here. But yeah, communication is becoming more and more of an important thing on a team, obviously. Very interesting interview with Gary Trent Sr. on the Raptors show this week with Will Liu and Alex Wong. I don't want to talk about this too much today, but tomorrow we will be talking about communication on a team and how important it is. That will be our Sunday special report, talking about communication on a team and how important it is. And we'll kind of look at the problems the Raptors had this season and kind of talk about why they were happening a little bit more deeper, on a deeper level. I found out some more stuff about the dysfunction of the Raptors this season, and I will be divulging it more tomorrow. Let's see. Nako saying Grizzlies got cooked. In my opinion, Sacramento is playing real good team ball. Yeah, Sacramento is a really good team. And they made Magic Johnson eat his words about the Warriors beating them on their court. It was a really good accomplishment to beat the Warriors in Golden State in Game 6 like that. Of course, Warriors Nation starts talking about Klay Thompson, this big game by Klay in Game 6. That's always what's going to happen. Klay Thompson. Well, fuck Klay Thompson. Is about Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox and people like that. So good job. You got Game 7. Take care of business in Sacramento. You're not done yet. You still need to finish them off, Kings, and do it. Meanwhile, the Grizzlies eliminated last night. Unfortunately, it was sad. Very, very cool to see the return of Jack Nicholson to the crypto arena. I think this is like the first game Jack's been to in so long. And it was nice. It was very interesting to see him there. I don't remember the last time I saw Jack Nicholson at a Lakers game in front court. So in some ways, it was very comforting and very fun to see as a longtime NBA fan. To see something like Jack Nicholson at the Lakers game just seems right. And it was just really cool to see him there. And he didn't look bad. I was like really worried. Like, if you see Jack Nicholson, it was like, holy crap, he's so old at this point. But he didn't look bad at all. And he came to the game and sat in the front row. And that's just really nice. I mean, it just, in some ways, hey, don't get me wrong, the Lakers won by 40. And in some ways, that's a funny number with Dylan Brooks. But that his presence, I don't know if that had something to do with it, LeBron and guys, but you guys may need Jack at all your games from now on, because that was very good luck. And you guys kicked their ass. You totally kicked their ass. Dylan Brooks leaving immediately after the game, not even showering. He ran right out the door, running away from the press. This has been the pattern after the games recently, that when after the game, he's just not available. He doesn't want to talk to them. He doesn't come and talk to them at all. He just runs out the door. And the other thing that's interesting about Dylan Brooks is that he is now an unrestricted free agent. So he is out there, baby. We really want him. We could go get him. A lot of people are joking that he's going to go be playing in China next because who he is and how he's acted recently. I don't know. There's a lot of teams that probably find value in him. So everybody who hates Dylan Brooks and thinks he's not going to be in the league anymore, you're crazy. Because even the Toronto Raptors would probably circle back and maybe make an offer to him this summer. So we'll have to see. Very, very interesting stuff in the NBA playoffs as per usual. I'm happy that I'm happy that not both of the mainstream teams won. I'm very happy that Sacramento won. I wish Grizzlies had won, but they want the Lakers to go further. It's just good TV. And now that Jack's shown up, yeah, they got to push them further. Let's see. G saying Bud's brother died in a car accident during the Heat series. Never know what someone is going through. Yeah, yeah. This is something that's been divulged in the last couple days, and this is a kind of thing that I thought was happening with Nick this year, that he had a tragedy or some sort of family issue going on behind the scenes that was part of why he was having such a hard time. But I'm finding out more and more about what happened with the Raptors and really understanding what happened with them. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. I want to save it for my Sunday report. And today is more about sharing the love and talking about the good, positive stuff. But tomorrow, you're not going to want to miss this stream, because we're going to be talking about some very serious shit that happened with the Raptors this season and exactly why we had problems this year. Yeah, that's sad. My heart goes out to Coach Bud. And the tragedies happen every day to people, and this is the thing. We have to be humanistic and not be desensitized to the fact that this person was hurting because of the loss of his brother in a car accident during the series. Yeah, that's really sad, and that sucks. In a lot of ways, people are probably going to be ugly towards Budenholzer in the Milwaukee Bucks nation because of the failure of losing. Yeah, I said that word. I know a lot of people are talking about that word a lot with Giannis, and I really do love how he shaped this conversation and making people really think philosophically about the idea of what failure is and success. And I really do appreciate that. But yeah, right now the Bucks Nation is really being crazy about like coming after Budenholzer. That's too bad about his brother. My condolences to the Budenholzer family for sure. MSJ saying, "Oh man, his brother died just last week." Yeah, literally during the Miami-Milwaukee series, he got news that his brother had died in a car accident. So obviously, there's some distraction there, and that could actually have very much contributed to him being checked out in the last game, the elimination game when they lost. A lot of people were critical of him for being lackadaisical and not adjusting and reacting to things quick enough. Have we heard that before? Yeah, we've heard that in certain places around the Raptors. Well, maybe he had some things on his mind, and it was a little bit tough for him to focus. I could see that. G saying, yes, MSJ, sometime during the playoff series with the Heat. Yeah, it was just within the last 2 weeks this happened, obviously. Good morning to superfan Monique Lawrence. Always happy to see the superfan Monique, community champion and Raptors Freak MVP of the season. Always good and happy to see Monique. Randolph Phillips is here. Good morning, beloved Raptor Freaks, most informative gang. This playoff season really tells us a lot about our team. Memphis really underperformed, making us look good. I really like that Ja came into his interview after the game last night, taking responsibility for his distractions this season. It's showing a sign of maturity very quickly. He's only 23, and he's had knuckleheads around him in his entourage. He's done knuckleheaded things. He's romanticized, that smoke, that life, that ops life, and he's realized what he gets from it, and tough lessons this season. And in some ways, they were destined to have a shitty year this year, no matter what, partly because of his distractions, but also because of the injury to Steven Adams. Not having your center, this is not the normal Grizzlies team. And I would like to say that if they had Steven Adams even in this series, that would have been a huge difference, and the games wouldn't have gone exactly how they went. In fact, I would say that the Grizzlies would have beat the Lakers if they had Steven Adams for this whole series. So there's a lot of different things that were already working against them, whether it's the distractions and the immaturity of Ja Morant contributing to them not getting a sound periods of time because he had to be away. He was suspended. He got hurt at different times also. So, yeah, I like that he's taking responsibility. And it sounds like from what he's saying that he really is going to try and clean up his NBA career and really, really focus on what's most important. And that's playing in the NBA. and doing the things that you need to do to help your team win and get further in the playoffs. You go, Ja Morant. I'm a fan, and I want to see you excel and overcome any kind of like stupid ops life that you were trying to fake live before. Get that shit out. You don't need that stuff. You don't need that smoke. Trust me. You need to just concentrate on basketball and high flying and put it in the hoop. That's what I want to see. Yeah. Fiercely saying, good morning, fam, and happy Saturday. Protect Dr. Alex at all costs. Let's keep him until he retires. Yes, yes, and yes. I'd like to know that he has an understudy. I like to know that there's somebody working with him as a second that is acquiring and soaking up all of his amazing knowledge and that will step into his position eventually when he does retire. That would be great. I love that kind of security. So I'm pretty sure Masai and Bobby probably have somebody working with them, and maybe we'll know their name more and more over time. But yeah, we need to share the love for Dr. Alex McKechnie, a true winner, born in Glasgow, Scotland, but a Canadian who worked a lot in BC. He was a West Coast Canadian early in his career, but now he's here in Toronto, and he's a very proud Canadian. He is, in fact, involved in a lot of Team Canada sports, not just basketball, as far as the sports science and medicine person for Team Canada teams. So he's a good patriot, also a good Canadian patriot. That may be part of the reason why he hasn't been poached from the Raptors since our championship season. That he has a duty and an honor to Canada because he is a Canadian, and I appreciate that about Dr. Alex. That's fantastic. Fiercey's also saying, I'm so past the Lakers winning. However, humility lessons for the Grizzlies. We spoke about Jack last week, and there he was. So nice to see him. I know, Fiercey. I was so happy to see him too. We just talked about him on the Superfan Trivia the other day, and I was wondering about him, why he never comes to games. And well, then we saw him. It was just a very, very nice thing to see. We may not be rooting for the Lakers, but we root for Jack. And we'd like to see Jack at the games because it just seems right. It just seems like it's a person in the right place. Courtside at a Laker game, Jack Nicholson. It's just right. It's like an institution. And it's so nice to see that happen last night. Of course, a lot of stars were at the game last night for sure. Jack was sitting with T. Morant for a second there. That was pretty cool. Yeah, it is what it is. Grizzlies are young. They have young lessons to learn. And they have time to grow and get better over time. Desmond Bane, fantastic series. You did a really, really good job as second guy next to Ja Morant. And just overall, the depth and the equality of the Grizzlies lineup really is a good team. They may be wanting to keep Dylan Brooks around. Honestly, in some ways, he's important leadership for their team. And they may not realize that, even if with all the distractions and the weird craziness. In fact, you see how they come out of the tunnel with the dancing and the good feelings. He is a big part of that. He is the leader of that stuff. And in some ways, they may be stupid if they let him go this summer. I don't know how Grizzlies fans feel about him right now. Some of them may be saying, just let him walk. We don't give a shit. We don't want Dylan around causing distractions anymore. Or some of them may be like, we really need his edge, and we need who he is because he helps make us have an edge to want to win like crazy. So it's two ways. In some ways, because he's not a very good player successfully, like offensively, it's a really intangibles kind of thing that he brings. He is more on the scale of Patrick Beverly than Kawhi Leonard for sure. So it's that kind of thing. It's like do you want that kind of player on your team? He can really help you win, but he can also help you lose at the same time. Let's see. Shere Khan's here. Good to see Raptor Freak Rookie of the Year for this season. Shere Khan in the house. Good morning, Raptor Freak family. What's the legitimacy of the Skip Bayless comment about Kawhi requesting a trade? Don't think that's going to happen, though. Clippers not going anywhere, in my opinion. Like Westbrook on the roster for them. Yeah, I mean, I could see Kawhi wanting to get out there again. I mean, he's like that. He's goofy. He's like really, I don't know. He's a weird guy. He's an enigma. But in some ways, I mean, the failure of the seasons he's had in the Clippers, I could see him wanting to go somewhere else all of a sudden. He went home. That's what him and Uncle Dennis wanted to do when they left Toronto. We want to be in California. Well, maybe he doesn't like being home. Maybe he's seen his sister go to jail for life in prison. He's like, you know what? I don't need to be home anymore, y'all. I need to just go. I want to go somewhere else. Does somebody else have a Dr. Alex? Can I go back to Toronto maybe, please? Maybe he does want to come back to Toronto. Maybe this will be the weird move. It's like, forget about getting somebody else. Just fucking do the Kawhi move again, Masai. Trade a couple guys to the Clippers and get Kawhi back here and get Dr. Alex to fix him up, give him a healthy year, and boom, let's run and go get another championship. That could be possible. That's what Masai says when he says, oh, things can change real quick. Somebody's disgruntled, Giannis, Luka, Kawhi, these people are open all of a sudden, and Masai has the trade chips that are attractive for the other team. They're like, yeah, we'll trade you a Kawhi for OG and Gary Trent. Boom. All of a sudden, Kawhi's back in a Toronto Raptors uniform and with Dr. Alex McKechnie. These kind of things can happen real quick. And, if anybody's an opportunist and looking for opportunities, it's Bobby and Masai. And those guys are, they can figure it out. Possibly. Who knows? Crazy. But that's very interesting, Shirkan. Yeah, that stuff that's happening. There's always turmoil and failure. When teams lose and go out of the playoffs, people want to point fingers and say, whose fault is it that we didn't win a championship? And then somebody has to sometimes get voted out, like Nick Nurse. You're off the island. I'm sorry. You're the cause, or you're the person, or we want to make this change to try and get better. That kind of stuff happens. And this stuff's going to happen a lot more in the next couple of weeks as teams get put out. Infamous is saying, morning freaks, I've heard Dylan Brooks will be traded immediately. He says no to Dylan on this team. It's weird. It's kind of like, I kind of like the idea, but in some ways I totally get what you're saying. He'd be like a problem in some ways. He probably would be a problem in some ways, but in a way, maybe he wouldn't be. I mean, his best friend, one of his best friends, Chris Boucher, is already on this team. And in some ways, he may be able to work with him to keep him in a little bit in check. Although Chris says on Hustle Plays, like, this is just this dude. He's always been this way. I showed up and I saw him like he was like this right away as soon as I met him. And it's not like he's acting or doing any putting on any act or anything. He's really is that person. And he's been that way consistently as long as Chris has known him. So in some ways, Dylan Brooks got to be who he is. He just got to be Dylan Brooks. Him being from Toronto, that could be a distraction. But if anybody would be crazy enough to deal with all that kind of stuff and be okay with it, it probably would be him. Although he could let distractions from his life here in Toronto bleed into the team and become a problem. So in some ways, you're kind of like, this is interesting, but there's a lot of risk with this guy too. I don't know. I got to trust in Masai. If he feels like we need some more friction on this team, we need more dog, maybe he does go and get Dylan Brooks. MSJ is saying, good win by the Kings. But when Giannis said what he did to the press after being questioned about the season being a failure, much more to the story, obviously. As for Brooks, he overplayed it. It's very philosophical what Giannis is saying. It's very philosophical. In some ways, it's very like making people question the whole idea of success and failure. And it's very important in today's society because in some ways we're getting to the point where everything in this world, if it's not a success, you like have shame, you have failed. And, it's not fair in some ways because listen, in the process of becoming successful, there's always failure. And this is what he's trying to say. This is a journey. It's not just 1 year. This is his whole entire career. And it's a body of work. And in every body of work, what you do, there's always going to be a certain amount of failure involved in it. And the failure is a part of getting to the success. And so I totally get what he's saying. And he's exactly right. And in some ways, what he's saying is important for people to hear that are championship or bust kind of people. That this is something that's real easy for fans to get in this way. Like, oh, I'm not happy unless we win the Larry O'Brien. And they get all upset and in a tizzy. Well, why can't there be levels of feeling like you got to a new level of success or, different things like that? Why can't you celebrate the small steps of getting towards the ultimate big success in some ways? That's something that people have been spoiled about in certain ways in sports. And I think that people need to chill out and kind of like readjust, what their idea of success is that, Karl Malone and John Stockton never won any NBA championships, but would you say that their careers weren't successful? I mean, seriously, Karl Malone was one of the greatest scorers ever in the history of the league, regardless of his personal issues with who he is. And then John Stockton led the league in assists and steals all time when he retired. So, these guys were super successful in their careers. They just never won a championship. So I think that what John has said is so important That now more than ever, this society needs to hear this as we monetize and really pick at every little moment of workers' minutes, like Amazon times their breaks, going into the bathroom, and everything is so like fixed out, like in a way just for the bottom line and success and stuff like that. It's kind of making people fucked up in their heads, and that there's a lot of gray area between success and failure, and we need to wrap our head around it philosophically in a way that in your own life you can't just hit home runs all the time. Sometimes you're going to get a bunt, sometimes you're going to get a single, sometimes you're going to strike out, sometimes you're going to whiff, sometimes you're going to pop out, sometimes you're going to hit a pop fly straight to center and it's going to get caught, sometimes that ball will go over the fence. There's different things, outcomes with anything that you do, and sometimes your success isn't even dependent on you. There may be external factors that get in the way between you and your success of what you're trying to do. So yeah, it's a very interesting conversation, and the fact that Giannis is coming at it with this way from his position and what happened to him just now is very smart and very awesome. And I appreciate him for opening the conversation. And some people are saying him doing this is bigger than basketball. It's bigger than basketball. In some ways, this is very philosophical shit that's happening with Giannis in his press conference. And I appreciate him for it. I really do. Because this is a really bad issue in sports today. Fans are like all or nothing. And we need to chill the fuck out. There's only one team out of the 30 that will get the championship. And of course, we all want to have a competitive edge and drive towards it. But there's also good sportsmanship. And there's also allowances for different levels of success. And I think that's important in every nation of the NBA teams, that you need to have allowances for different levels of success. And that, Sacramento making the playoffs after all these years, in some ways, that's a success just in itself. If they had been beaten by Golden State last night and gone out, they shouldn't hang their heads. They made their team go back in the playoffs for the first time in forever. And that is a level of success that they had not been used to recently. So it's not the championship. And some people say, well, you're a chump for that. Well, stop poo-pooing people's achievements that are going above and beyond where they've been before, because that is success. That's on the way up and getting more and more towards your goal. And that is a success in itself, making baby steps or getting closer to it. So I think that's part of what we're trying to say here. Let's see. La, 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 la. Fiercely saying, good job, John Morant, for owning up and maturing. Great redemption example for the youth. He's a smart guy. You can tell he's a smart guy. It's just he wasn't taking things seriously enough in certain ways. And now he's going to tighten up. And I know he's going to be very successful. And he's going to be fine. And hopefully never, ever have any kind of like fake gangster ops kind of bullshit fuck up his career ever again. Isaac saying nothing wrong with Dylan Brooks. They were missing their bigs, and he poked the bear to fire up his team. Lowry-like mentality. I like Isaac's description of Dylan. I don't disagree with this. In some ways, it's he's the villain because the NBA wants to paint him that way. But to Grizzlies fans, is he the villain? No, he's the guy who's fighting for their fight on their side and trying to inspire their team. Now, some of them may be sick of him and may be like, yeah, he was an unwelcome distraction. He didn't help us win. Maybe he did poke the bear and motivate LeBron to play at a higher level against us. Some people are saying, yeah, don't piss off the best player in the league because he'll go off on you. This was something that like we had to deal with the years with him on Cleveland and playing against DeMar and Kyle. Is you don't want to piss the LeBron off because he may put a little extra mustard and a little extra effort in his game just because he feels slighted. And in some ways, Dylan did do that. And that may have caused LeBron to have a little bit more of an effort out there. So very interesting. Monique is saying, love your spreadsheet lately on the coaches. I'm glad you listened to Gary Sr. on the Raptors show. I just listened to him for a second. In some ways he was talking in circles and not making any sense. In some ways I didn't like totally what he was saying. He's talking about how there's 10 characteristics of a loser, 10 characteristics of a winner. And he's not really he's kind of out there in a little bit of ways. He's kind of dissing our team too, which I didn't like. I don't know. Gary Trent Sr. is good for motivation and guidance for Gary Trent Jr., but he's definitely not a coach in the way that he could be for the NBA or anything. And he's definitely got a weird way about him. I don't know. In some ways, his interview is fun and entertaining, but I don't know how much like substance there is to it in some ways. Let's just put it that way. Let's just put it that way. It's entertainment. He's entertaining, but in a lot of ways, like what he was saying was just going around in circles, and it didn't totally make sense to me. Luca's saying, "In which conference? Which conference? What you talking about, Luca? Please elaborate." I appreciate you being here. 9:30 a.m. every single morning. We're here talking Raptor stuff. Trevor's saying, "Good morning, Brooks. Take that, all that, bitch." About LeBron being 40 and get 40 dropped on him. Yeah. I mean, that's what happens. It is. It wasn't even LeBron dropping 40. It was the whole Laker team dropping a 40-point win over the Grizzlies in the last game. Once again, I'll say, have Steven Adams in that series. It's a different series. It's a totally different series. He's such an important foundational piece of the Grizzlies that you can't really gauge the Grizzlies at their full strength without Steven Adams on the court. But yeah, good job, Lakers. You're getting to the second round, and the NBA loves this so much. They love this so much. They want you guys to go as far as you can. The legend of LeBron to continue. G saying, do you think Kawhi may want Nurse to coach for the Clippers? I don't know. I think they have a fine relationship. I don't know. There's stuff I'm going to talk about tomorrow is going to be very interesting, G. And it has to do with Nick. And I'm going to wait till then. I'm not sure. I don't think Tyronn Lue's in trouble. People are trying to say that Tyronn Lue's in trouble. It's not totally clear whether he is or not, but I don't think he's in trouble. I think that he's done pretty good with what he's had to deal with there. The issues with the Clippers are not with the coach or the system or the players. It's the issues with the health. It really is. They can't consistently keep their top tier stars on the court together at that much. In fact, there's crazy stats of how little they've all played together. It's very much like the Brooklyn Nets big three from recent years. These dudes just don't get on the court together very often. And it's too bad. And the amount of time that they should have played together in the last 4 years, PG and Kawhi Leonard, it's just not happened. It just has not happened. Infamous is saying, if Kawhi left after winning a chip, there's no way I would want him here. Masai wants no part of Uncle Dennis as well. Well, that was part of the reason why we didn't, they were negotiating. And basically what I heard was Kawhi was saying that he wanted Uncle Dennis to be part of the front office, that he wanted him to get a position in a salary, and for him to be in the room with Bobby and Masai, helping them decide who was going to come to this team, Uncle Dennis. And they was like, yeah, nah, you can go home. We're not going to do this. And that was a big part of why we in some ways we're like, kind of like, whatever, maybe you should just go home because we're not going to give a job to your uncle just because you told us to. That was something I heard. Seriously. Let's see. Shir Khan's laughing. Monique is saying, I'll just say this about Nate Bjorkgren. I always knew about the Pacers story, but wow. Oren, thank you. All right, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow, Monique. I'm not talking about this today. This is my big, meaty story for tomorrow. We're not going to talk about this today. But yeah, there's an Oren Weisfeld piece out, and I'm going to go over it tomorrow. But I need content for tomorrow, Monique, so we're not going to talk about it today. Shir Khan saying, I have to be honest, did not watch the Kings at all this season, but Lex is a legit super guard with lightning. Oh, Fox. But Fox is a legit super guard with lightning quickness. If they win Game 7, that Lakers-Kings series is going to be something special. I hope the Kings absolutely mop the floor with the Lakers if that series does come together. In some ways, the Kings are one of the better teams out west. They are run like a team. They play like a team. They have the diversification to them. It allows them to find different ways to win when there's problems coming up. There's a lot of stuff. The fact that they're going toe-to-toe and now are in a Game 7 against the defending champion Golden State Warriors that are vets like this says a lot. And, I mean, they've had home court advantage and they've had different things. But this series, man, oh, man, it's all going to come down to this last game. And I guess they're playing tomorrow, the Game 7, Golden State at Sacramento. All right, let me go over the game for today. We're starting the second round today. Phoenix is in Denver to play the Game 1 of the second round in their series. And the referees for tonight are Mark Davis, Josh Tiven, and Trey Maddox. Mark Davis, Josh Tiven, and Trey Maddox, all three of them favor the Denver Nuggets over the Phoenix Suns. In fact, it's not even close. Some of them really, really favor the Nuggets. Like the Nuggets win like 65% of the games that they're around. Meanwhile, like the Phoenix Suns will only win like 40% of their games. So there's a pretty strong favoritism towards the Denver Nuggets in Denver tonight. with Mark Davis, Josh Tiven, and Trey Maddox as the ref crew for tonight. There's your ref check real quick for tonight. Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's keep going here. I really will enjoy like a Lakers Kings series. But in some ways, I could see them screwing over the Kings in game 7 because they want that Warriors Lakers series. Oh my gosh. All right, let's see. G saying, Mo, I saw a glimpse of it, but went to his Instagram and don't see it. Do you know where it is? Well, I'll talk about all this tomorrow, G. I just don't want to. I have to really keep content and like making content every single day. I don't want to like shoot my shot every single day all at once. So tomorrow we're going to talk about the Nate Bjorkgren, Oren Weisfeld piece and stuff like that. Let's see. G saying Grizzlies are a good example of how a team needs their bigs come playoffs. They don't need to be a huge offensive threat either. Defense, rebounding, boxing out, being physical all matters. Yeah, Steven Adams is one of the strongest players in the NBA. He can manhandle people. In fact, they did that players poll in the Athletic, the unofficial players poll, and they said which players would you not want to fight? And number one was James Johnson. And we know that's because he's like a judo master, black belt, crazy martial arts guy, and he can do a standing backflip. We know about James Johnson here in Toronto. He was on our team a few times. I think he had like 3 different stints on our team. And then the second person on that list is Steven Adams. Nobody wants to fight Steven Adams because they know he's strong as an ox. And in fact, he may be the strongest player in the league right now. So that's part of it. You have that kind of strength out there. For sure it helps. It's going to help like really minimize AD. It's going to help like LeBron think about like whether he wants to come at the lane because there's a big old Steven Adams there looking like a pirate ready to put him on the floor. It's a huge factor. It's a huge, huge factor. And the fact that the Grizzlies did as well as they did in this first round without Steven Adams is, they have a lot to say that they could be way better just with Adams in the lineup for sure. Monique saying Kawhi will not be the same again. Thanks, Alex. Well, I don't know. There's some real talk that like some people are saying he needs to retire because of this latest injury. That that he's doing a disservice to the league, and there's so much sullying of his name, and this is what this gets, Kawhi. When you sit out so much, when you do things like what you did in San Antonio, you set the tone, and when you have a higher percentage of games that you're absent for than you play, yeah, in some ways this doesn't make you look good. And I've talked about this recently that in the all-time GOAT conversations, you're failing, bro. You're not going to be involved in those because you're hurt way, way too much. In fact, there's players in the history of the NBA that have similar things where they're amazing players. They play like a few years, but then injury cuts their career short. Nobody remembers them because they don't get the amount of accolades and stat like accumulation that somebody like LeBron, who's very durable, who plays for 20 years, gets. And that's why Kawhi, you're never going to be in the conversation because you're wasting your time. You took too much time off. And I don't know. I don't care if it's like actual legit injuries. Some of it is questionable. It's like half-ass injuries. Maybe you're being overly cautious and missing way too many games. And it's going to hurt your legacy. It's going to hurt your place in the history of the NBA and where you stack up against people like Jordan and LeBron. You could have been up there with them. But in some ways, you get a discount just because your durability issues are horrible. And they're going to always like, this is the thing. You're going to lose that. You're going to lose that credibility. If that ever mattered to you, well, this is how you lose it, Kawhi. And it's too bad. Race Mode saying, I think Kawhi knew about his health and took the smaller contract to be closer to home. His health has always been a little weird. But once again, I don't understand this. Like maybe he figured something out when he was in San Antonio and he took that time off. He didn't have to sit that year. He did that to strong arm them to leave the franchise. He was not that hurt. He could have played his last year in San Antonio, and all the Spurs fans knew that. Popovich knew that. And that was part of the reason why this was such a gamble bringing him here to Toronto, because he found out already he could sit games for no reason. In some ways, I shouldn't question whether he's hurt or not. I don't know how hurt he's been, but in some ways he's soft. And older players probably would have played through half of his injuries the way he sat him and stuff like that and been out there. I just don't get how somebody who's so strong, somebody who's so athletic, is hurt so often. It just doesn't make any fucking sense to me. And an old school athlete in his situation would have made himself play at certain times. I'm sure there's certain days where he sat out games where he could have easily played, but he didn't. And an older player back in the day would have played. in like a bunch of those games. So a lot of this is on his own fault and being used to saying, he figured out, oh, I can sit games and still get paid and sit on the bench. Well, he's abusing it at this point, in some ways. If I was a Clippers fan, I would be like, this guy's fool's gold. He's never going to take us to a championship. He's just going to entice you, make you think something during the whole season. And then at some point, boom, he's just going to bow out and he's not going to do anything for you when it matters. Let's see. Trevor's saying it looked like Golden State going to put out Sacramento have the number. We'll have to see what happens in this last game in Game 7. I'm so proud of Sacramento. Good job winning in a hostile environment against the Warriors. That's not easy. Malik Monk talking trash to Jordan Poole and backing it up, outplaying him. Fiercely saying Kawhi was very high maintenance and not a good practice, kind of selfish even. Glad Dr. Alex didn't follow him. And yes, I'm sure he's doing knowledge transfer for the Raps as we need the medical expertise. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's probably people that are young hotshots in that field coming up that are like clamoring to line up and work with Dr. Alex and to glean all of his knowledge of his years from what he's been doing just to be more successful themselves. It's just like any profession. You want to learn from a master, somebody who's very good at it, and he is at the top of his field. So it would be very attractive to have some high caliber, younger people that do the job working alongside him that could be possibly being an incumbent for him afterwards, or somebody to come in and take the job when he is older and he wants to retire. So yeah, this would be smart to kind of have that growing up underneath Masai and Bobby. Have the next person, just in case, that is taking the knowledge and the apprentice of Dr. Alex, so that we can have a really strong sports science and medicine department later when he does retire. G-Sam Mo brought up Scotty's Google Pixel ad to fans in the same paragraph. That's what I was referring to. Where can we find it? Well, this is what happened. I don't know why Scotty did this, but yesterday he posted on his Instagram, in his Instagram story, his Google Pixel ad, once again saying he is home. So in some ways, I take this as him saying he's affirming that his home is Toronto. Maybe since the offseason started, there's a lot of noise around him. Maybe there's a lot of consternation. Other fan nations are always trying to solicit him to like come to their teams. They're always writing stuff. Scotty, come to the Lakers. Scotty, come to Miami. Come to Boston. Come to this team. And I think that in some ways, like he really is a loyal company guy. And in some ways, he wants to signal that he is. And I think that's why he puts up a year-old ad on his Instagram stories confirming to everyone, I am home. And that's Toronto. And that's in Kensington Market. That's in Spadina Avenue in the Google Pixel ad from last year. So it's not a new ad. It's the same one. And that's why I'm thinking, okay, this is an affirmation by Scotty to a Raptors nation that he's home. And it could very well also mean that he did come back just now because he was down in Florida last week and he's back in Toronto right now. So maybe he's saying that it's also announcing that he's back in the 416 and he's here for this time to train and be at OVO Center and be around the team. Who knows? Maybe Scotty, it gets to be in some of the war room meetings with Bobby and Masai about the head coach. Maybe they're keeping him really in the loop. It could be that he comes in and he gets to sit down at the table with them and they talk about the different people they're talking about with Scotty and they consult him. This is a really good, easy way to make him feel like he's a part of the decision and that he really, really matters with our team. They could do stuff like this with Fred, Pascal, and Scotty and really get their input, and that may shape who they hire. It could very well be that they feel them out on like, hey, what do you think about Becky Hammond, Scotty? She's amazing. I've watched her in the WNBA a while ago, and she's really interesting. Like, it could be something like that. Getting Scotty more involved in the front office and being around Larry Tannenbaum is always good because that makes him feel like he's a part of the whole thing, and like he has a chance to say his opinions as a player on front office stuff. That gives him power, and it makes him feel like, okay, they're listening to me and they want things that they care about what I think. So that's all really, really important stuff. So I love that Scotty did that. I think that he did that to send a signal out to all Raptors Nation that he's with us and that Toronto is his home. And is also for his other people that follow him that like, look, I'm in home. Stop fucking asking me to come to your team. I'm on the Raptors, baby. And that's part of what I see with that. Yeah, that's what I see with that. Shirkan saying if the Clips want to keep Kawhi going forward, they will have to limit his minutes even more, maybe 30 minutes max. He is still great on the floor. Stephen A is just too loco about talking about retirement. There's a lot of haters for Kawhi. They hated him for what he did in San Antonio. In some ways, they think he's despicable because he's kind of like, I get why. I get why they criticize him. And, he's an important part of our history. But in some ways, he's super frustrating as a superstar and he's annoying. I don't know what they need to do with him. If he came back here, we could figure it out and we could get good stuff out of him. I'm sure we could be very, very smart with him like we were the year he was here before. But yeah, who knows? Let's see what happens this summer. MSJ saying Kawhi Leonard is too strong. His muscle power is too much for his tendons. He is the perfect basketball player who does it all, but his body pushes the level of sheer power too far. Lambos break down a lot too. This is an interesting take on why Kawhi Leonard is injury prone. He's just too muscle bound. He works so hard. He's so powerful. He could do something at his house, like go pick up a cup off the counter. And it's like, whoa, I'm doing it too powerful. Oh, I hurt my arm, something like that. He's too powerful for his own good. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I've heard this kind of stuff about Lamborghinis before. That you work real hard, you got that horsepower and that torque, that working of the engine, and there's a lot of power in there. You can rev things up and rip things up real quick. So I get what you're saying, and I don't think that it's bullshit what you're saying. I think this is very true. The makeup of his muscle mass on his body may be partly to blame for his injury issues. G saying we are very lucky to have Dr. Alex. Behind the scenes staff are very important for success. Yes, yes, and yes, and especially him. I mean, he really has been known around the league for a while. He was a big part of the Lakers' success in the 2000s, and we're lucky to have him on this side of the border again. At one game in the past 2 years, I was going to go get on the elevator to go up to the 300 level with Adriana to go get to our seats. And Dr. Alex was there with us, standing to wait to get on the elevator. And he got on the elevator. I wanted to get on the elevator with him. And the usher lady said, no, you can't get on the elevator with him. And it's because he was going up to a different level than where I could go to. But I was like, dang, I had my chance to talk to Dr. Alex and I couldn't get it because the usher lady wouldn't let me get on the elevator with him. But that's just how it is. I shouldn't be bugging him anyway. He has important work to do. But yeah, Dr. Alex is awesome. He got his degree at the Leeds School of Physiotherapy in Leeds, England. And of course, he's in the British Columbia Sports Hall of Fame, which is awesome. He was the head physiotherapist for Simon Fraser University in 1974. And he worked with the Vancouver Whitecaps in 1988. He's worked with the Canadian men's national soccer team. He's worked with the Vancouver Canucks. He's worked with Jimmy Connors, as I said. He also worked with Steve Nash, Owen Hargraves. He's got a whole list of a ton of crazy names of professional athletes from all kinds of different sports that he has been a part of helping for them to stay healthy. And as I said, he's a 6-time NBA champion. This guy's a winner. That's why I'm wearing all my championship gear today. Championship hat, championship hoodie, because we're talking about a champion today, a 6-time NBA champion. Real quick, let me just gloss over. We'll make it just an hour today. I don't need to go a marathon every day. Really proud of Ja Morant owning up to his off-court issues and their contribution to why the Grizzlies didn't do as well this year as they could have. It's very, very smart of you to be mature in that kind of way. Tonight, Phoenix is playing Denver, and Mark Davis, Josh Tiven, and Trey Maddox are the referees, and they all favor the Denver Nuggets. This is something I need to do an update on what's happening with our coach search. Yesterday at 6 a.m. in the morning, Pacific time, I guess it was 9 a.m. for us, Jordi Fernandez was interviewed by the Raptors over Zoom for the head coaching job. And we don't know how that went. Of course, if they're doing Zoom call interviews, that means they could do them from anywhere. We were wondering about whether they'd fly Becky Hammond here. Maybe they just did it over Zoom. Who knows? Becky Hammon very clearly telling reporters yesterday about that today is not the day for talking about me and the Raptors and the men. Today's a day for me to talk about the women and the Las Vegas Aces because, in some ways, listen, this is something we got to think about. The WNBA schedule is starting very soon. And in some ways, she's preparing to be the WNBA coach for the Las Vegas Aces right now. Now, if we hired her, would she still do the season with the WNBA and then come and coach us after that season's over? Or do they overlap? I actually think that the WNBA season doesn't end before the NBA stuff would start in the fall. So it's kind of a weird thing. In some ways, she could maybe possibly be. I don't know if it's possible for her to be the head coach of both teams or if both teams would want that because it seems like it's a very tough job and you need to be focused on both. But in some ways, it occurred to me the other day, I was like, she could maybe coach both teams because, this WNBA's in the summer and the NBA's in the fall and the winter. But maybe not. Maybe there could be allowances for her to be able to do that. I don't know. In some ways, I was like thinking out of the box because it's, Vegas fans of the Las Vegas Aces are pissed. They don't like that we're interviewing her. In fact, they're telling her to just turn the job down and forget about it and just stay with them. Obviously, they would want that to happen. In fact, some of our Raptors writers who cover the WNBA very closely, Katie Heindel in particular, are very negative about us interviewing Becky Hammon, and they're writing pieces that are saying that they're insulted that we're interviewing her. I think this is all kind of bullshit. What do you think we're doing here? You think we're fucking around, Katie? No, we're not. We're serious about this. And this isn't like something frivolous or like, if she doesn't get the job, it's not bad either. Y'all are making it like we're jilting her, like jerking her around. It's all very like if she's one of the top 3 candidates and she's in the running at the very end, like one of the last people, and we don't give her the job, that's not the end of the world for her. Trust me. And it's not like we're dissing her or rejecting her. I think this is so fucked up that people are taking it that way. In some ways, you're playing it the wrong way, Katie. Because, look, it's like we don't want to worry about the gender. Well, then don't fucking worry about the gender. Let's just interview her because she's a good candidate. And if she gets a job, she gets a job. But I think that, if you think we're trying to disrespect her by interviewing her, we're just signaling that we're interviewing her, you're fucking wrong. That Masai's very serious about considering her and that this is a very serious thing that could actually happen. And I'm really surprised by the backlash by some of the WNBA fans that are saying that she needs to just reject the job and say, no, I'm good. You guys are crazy. And, I know some of y'all are saying that she doesn't really care about breaking glass ceilings or being the first to do stuff. That may very well be true, but why not do it? Because somebody needs to do it. In some ways, it's bigger than her. It's about her doing something for all women. And it's in some ways, it would be selfish of her not to take the job. In some ways, seriously, you could argue that point on the other way. It's like, look, the opportunity is being given to you. If Masai says you can have the job, Becky, and she says, no, I'm going to stay in Las Vegas and just coach the women, that's not daring. That's not glass ceiling breaking, So a lot of people need to check themselves that are kind of negative about us interviewing Becky Hammon, not just the anti-woke people, but the people that are too woke and saying that this is silly that they're doing this and this virtue signaling and they're just messing around and disrespecting a great head coach and a great WNBA player like Becky Hammon. Y'all are crazy. This is only good. You think she's upset she's going to get interviewed even if she doesn't get the job? No, because she's getting more and more high profile every time the interviews come around. Every time. She may not have been ready the last couple interview times than in past years, but she's more and more ready now. It's like fruit. She's ripening up to be the right place to possibly come and take over an NBA team. So in some ways, I got to check the people that are like very much WNBAites that love the WNBA. In some ways, you're clouding your judgment because you love that sport so much. And in some ways, this is what needs to be done. If Masai thinks that she's the right person for the job, she needs to take the job. Trust me, because glass ceilings are deserved to be broken. And I'm surprised that people that love the WNBA and want more equality for women's sports are so anti Becky Hammon taking the job in Toronto. It's ridiculous to me, in fact. Like seriously, WNBA people, I can get it. You love your little bubble of being in WNBA and you don't want to lose like the best coach in your league. But listen, this will only benefit your league if it happens. Trust me. So, in some ways, I was so shocked to see certain people that really, really follow the WNBA and really care about it being so pessimistic about this interview that we're doing with her. Seriously, there's no reason to be pessimistic about this. This is a good thing. It's good for the Raptors. It's good for Becky Hammon. It's good for the WNBA. So, check yourself. Seriously, I didn't get that. I was like, what the fuck? What is this? Seriously, you're getting what you want in some ways, ladies. Why are you so upset? Why are you so upset? All right, let's see. La 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 la. Sure Constant, 30 people watching the stream today. Nice. Let's smash that like button for the algorithm. Thank you, Sheer Khan. Please like, comment, subscribe, share. MSJ saying looks like the subs are up by 20 since last week. Nice to see you. Have a good day, y'all. I don't know if it's a Chev effect. I don't know if it's just that people are very interested in seeing what the fuck is going on with our coaching search. Whatever it is, I promise I'll be coming in with as much information that I can find everywhere and let you guys know what stuff's going on. Like interviewing Jordy Fernandez in the middle of the morning, whether it's the stuff with Becky Hammon I was just talking about, whether it's Scotty posting his Google Pixel ad on Instagram and talking about the implications about that. So yeah, let's see. I appreciate that, MSJ, and everybody who's new. Thank you for following me. I hope you're enjoying the content, and you'll join us in the chat. Infamous is saying that's why I don't want Becky. Too much drama and distraction. She will become bigger than the team. Can you imagine being the team that has to fire her? No thanks to Becky. See, Infamous isn't into this idea about her, but I am totally into it. She's a winner. She knows how to coach. She can help us win. That's all I give a fuck about. That's what we care about, Infamous. We care about the Raptors winning and winning another championship and getting further in the playoffs and doing better and better. Becky Hammon is an excellent hire. And, there's going to be drama around everything and everybody. That's just the nature of the NBA at this point. At least in some ways, her drama will be totally different than Ime Udoka's drama. Her drama would probably be different than other people's drama. And I don't think it would be a distraction. I think that you'd be surprised how little of a distraction it would be that she's a woman and that if she was our coach. You actually might be shocked at that. I don't think she would become bigger than the team either. I mean, Nick Nurse had his own personality and who he is about things. But in some ways, he was always kind of like still the coach and kept in check. I mean, should she be as big a personality as Nick Nurse and that would be okay? I don't think that would be a problem. So I know that you're down for that. And some people will be like, let's not even go there just because it could be a distraction. I get that. And that is a concern, but I don't think that the chances are as bad as you think. I think that she's very professional and she's very smart about how she handles things, then there won't be those kind of distractions. In fact, Nick did those kind of distractions this year, and anybody can do them. That's the thing. But hopefully, we'll see. We'll see who Masai hires. Wayne saying, isn't it strange? Most all of the people here and mostly guys are supportive of Becky, yet it's females that have an issue with us interviewing Becky. I truly like her, especially since Earl is out. Yeah, we're going to talk about this tomorrow. We're going to talk about Earl. We're going to talk about the coaches on the Raptors tomorrow. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happened. Yeah, I think it's weird. I mean, in some ways, look, these people are really, what it is a little bit of gatekeeping. It's really weird. Like, some people have been so diehard WNBA in the last couple of years, and more people are coming in to try and be interested in it and stuff. In some ways, they're like, well, where were you a couple of years ago or something like that? There may be a little bit of that. In some ways, people are like, well, what the fuck? You're going to come and poach our best coach in our league and take them to the NBA? Some people are upset and insulted by that. There's some people that are very weirdly WNBA people and not NBA people. And it's partly that. I think that's partly what it is. MSJ saying, Lex, on the woke stuff, I think people are more worried about Glenique Frank winning the London Marathon, not Becky Hammon. She could be a good coach for sure, and hiring her is not woke at all, people. Yeah, I'm with you on this. I mean, I don't know that situation with Glenique Frank and whatever that is. I'm going to guess maybe that has something to do with trans something, or I don't know. I know that this is true. I forget about that Becky Hammon is a woman. I don't care about that. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at her coaching credentials. I'm looking at her success. I'm looking at her resume. And that's what anybody should be looked at when they're in a job interview. It shouldn't be about their color, their gender, or any of that kind of stuff, even their age. It should be about who's the best person for the job. Fiercely saying, I know we said we were no longer mentioning other content creators, but yesterday I was appalled by the misogynistic and sexist comments on Chev's take in regards to Becky Hammon. A lot of closed-minded people. Ooh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Well, that's too bad. I don't like to hear that, in some ways we have blind spots, everybody. There may be a little bit of a chauvinistic, misogynistic streak in Chev, and that's unfortunate. Well, maybe there'll be learning experiences down the road for him. We'll have to see. Click's telling me, stop making everything so fucking political. It's fucking basketball. Get a good coach and let's hoop. Exactly. I don't want to make it political. In some ways, Becky Hammon, it doesn't have to be political. It's whether we want to look at her through the lens of it being political. Let's just fucking play basketball. She's a good coach. Let's just fucking do it. And I'm with Click on this. In some ways, it doesn't have to have a political side to it, but there will be always in some people's eyes, and some people will be upset, and both ways. So it's just how it is. It's just the nature of things. Now, Click, you want to live a non-political life? I'm with you. I am with you on that. Let's just do the nuts and bolts of it. Say, well, is she a good coach? Should we hire her? Okay, then. That's all we should look at. It shouldn't be about this or this or this. But listen, everything is political inherently. This world has been driven into every single little thing, whether it's fucking M&M's, Bud Light, whatever the fuck it is, it's going to be politicized and made into politics. It's just the way the world has evolved and gotten to this point. And it's sad. It sucks. But it is what it is. It's just what it is. We got to deal with it. In your own life, you can depoliticize everything yourself, but we can't control how everybody's going to make everything else political, unfortunately. G saying, I watched Becky's highlights coaching the Spurs Summer League team to their chip. She has charisma. They seem to enjoy playing for her. I'm telling you, in some ways, like, I really feel like she would get an extra gumption out of them. Partly, like, I'm not going to say just because she's a woman, but just because in some ways, it is exciting to break history. It is exciting to be a part of something that's special like that. And in some ways, that is the whole part of it that is like kind of cool and attractive about that is the players may be like, this is the first women's coach in any major professional sport in North America, and I want to help her succeed. And there may be a drive to really make sure she succeeds by the guys because of that. Think about that. Like, in some ways, there's an extra pressure because they don't want her to fail. They want her to succeed. And I've thought about that also in the last couple of days that, like, they may be very much like, let's do it extra for Coach Becky because we don't want people to start painting this world that like, oh, women can't coach the NBA. We want to help her and make her successful. So it opens the door wider for more people like Don Staley and other people to come and coach NBA teams. In fact, if we've hired her and she comes in and she does so well, everybody's going to copycat us. In fact, they may see like, oh, there was all these advantages the Raptors had from having Becky Hammon as their coach. Then other people may like go out and hire a bunch of women to be other coaches on other teams all of a sudden. Just because, that's what they do. They rip us off. They copycat us. They say, oh, wow, they got an advantage from doing positionless. Well, let's try and do more positionless here in Orlando. Okay. Oh, they got this is what happened with the effect of having a female coach on your team. You did actually get a couple of perks from it because in some ways, and it may be very much the individual female that has different, effects. But I'm just saying that's like that. I could see that happening, like where it's, Milwaukee's like, all right, Coach Bud, we gave you one more year because we felt bad for you, but we were firing you next year because we seen the Raptors do really well with Becky Hammon, and we have a new female coach. Who knows? She could really open that door wide open, and a lot of people could come in right after her right away. Let's see. Wayne saying Sacramento Kings adjustment was noticeable. They only take threes on their team. Taking easy twos instead of jacking up threes was a game changer for them. Really intelligent. Yeah, I think the more they rely on Sabonis in some ways is really smart because he's a totally different kind of scorer than the rest of their team. And in some ways, he's a bull in a china shop, and he can just go in there and physically like make things happen. He's crazy. The way that he plays, he's very, very physical. He's crazy. But yeah, I want to see the Kings win and beat the Warriors on I guess tomorrow. They're going to be playing tomorrow. MSJ saying, if Becky wants to get the job, do you know how hard she would work? Everyone has to view her on her merits. She would devote herself to the Raptors, unlike fucking Nick the Dick Nurse. MSJ, all right. This is the first time anybody's really come after Nick like this. And I was kind of hoping we wouldn't. But, I feel bad about Nick getting fired. Seriously. In some ways, I really love Nick Nurse and I always will. So I'm not going to kick him right now. I got to respect his legacy with what we're doing. So once again, in some ways, even though he's fired, he's not on our team. We got to respect him still. So I can't go on that with that. But that's true. This is the whole thing. For her to even be considered at this level, she had to be way more overqualified. This is indicative of real life and job searches that women have to go through. Is that their male counterparts can have a less stellar resume and get the job over them. So they've had to work extra hard and have that much more to be more considered. And in some cases, this is true in this case with her, that her resume is way better than anybody's on that spreadsheet that I got. And, that's part of this whole phenomena, and it's kind of sucks. But in a way, that logically means she's way better than everybody else. And that's why I'm like all about like possibly hiring her in some ways. Wayne saying, didn't get that from Chev. Didn't hear that at all. Well, I think we all hear different things in different ways. And I know that, Fiercey being female, she may hear it a little bit different than you, Wayne. And that's what I'll just say. Let's see. Fiercey saying, I noticed Golden State Warriors left Sabonis wide open on mid-range attempts many times, knowing he's struggling with them. Well, that's just smart coaching by Coach Kerr, for sure. If you got somebody like is not doing too well, go away from them. Give a little more extra defensive attention in other areas because you can afford to, because this guy's a weakness. Yeah, that makes sense. Monique saying, W stream always. Lex, keep at it. Thank you, Monique. Yes, always happy to see you here. Fiercely saying at Wayne, it's not Chev, it's the people commenting. It was really bad. Sorry, I was not clear enough in my comment. Chev was actually pro Becky. Oh, okay. I'm glad you clarified because I didn't see the content myself. Yeah, well, I can get that from his fan nation. In fact, that's part of the effect of people coming in here since I did the thing on him the other day. Listen, I'm not going to talk about Chev unless something like Chris Boucher talks directly to him. I don't want people to think I'm trying to purposely piggyback on Chev. It's just that I did not talked about Chev very much on this channel or put his name in my titles until he had a direct interaction with Chris Boucher on Twitter. And that's very newsworthy in Raptors world on the off season. And that's the whole reason why I put Chev on my title is because it was the news of the day. A back and forth between a YouTube channel and one of the Raptors is huge news. And that was part of that. And I mean, I got a little bit of a bump from it. But, some of the people that have come here, we've had a mixed bag. We've had really awesome, great people that are just like us, real Raptor freaks. And then there's been a couple of trolls. I mean, there's been real, like Chev Nation has come in to my comment section. And some of them have been really awesome, great contributors, fantastic points of view, really great questions, really great comments, adding to the dialogue in there. And then some of them have been a little bit sketchy, a little bit trolly, a little bit like what you're saying, maybe not the most intelligent. And it could very well be that, he's got a huge fan base. What he has like 13,000 followers of his channel. There's going to be some meatheads, some misogynists, some chauvinists. And they're manifesting in his comments because of the topic. In fact, I was wondering about that with us when I did that one yesterday. It was like, how many is anybody in our chat going to be like that about Becky? And I was wondering, and very little bit, just a little bit, not really though. And they were fair comments and they were fair worries. So it wasn't like, all right, and there's nobody here that's like overly misogynist that they're so upset that we're just interviewing a woman for the job. Thank God. But I could see where that could be possible in NBA Chev's like comment section. I'm glad you clarified. And Wayne, thank you for calling her on that. That it isn't exactly Chev that was being that way. It's his followers in the comment section. Okay, good stuff, Fiercey. And I'm glad you clarified. Seriously. Isaac saying Hammond as a player played with the heart size of Allen Iverson, could step back before step back threes were a thing, and pulled up from deep when Steph Curry was first learning to play b-ball. Basketball is basketball. She's got range like Curry before Curry could even shoot. I don't know. He could shoot pretty early. I saw him shooting those around 2003. This is not untrue. Like she does have that kind of like Allen Iverson spirit as a woman's player in the realms that she played in. She could be compared to Allen Iverson as far as like her will to win and her drive. That is for sure. That is definitely for sure. I'm gonna actually watch more highlights of her as a player too, Isaac, because it really does teach you something. She's not a big person. She's not a very big person, and she still did very, very well in the women's game. So that's amazing. MSJ saying, sorry about the Nick Nurse comment offside. I'm just annoyed as he seems to have given up in the end. I know it's all good, and don't apologize. You have feelings about this, and I'm totally with you. I'm annoyed with him too. Like I wanted to keep going with him, and he totally fucked it all up. So in some ways, I get why you're frustrated and you want to call him a name, but it doesn't serve us. It really doesn't. We need to honor him because we don't need to tear him down. And I know a lot of Raptors Nation is going to probably tear him down and not honor him, and that's why we don't want to do it here. That's the whole reason why. But you know what? I agree with you. He gave up at the end and it sucks. But do we know why? It may be because of all the conflict. Tomorrow we'll talk about it. I'm going to talk about this conflict. It's crazy. Wayne's saying if Becky wasn't effective, San Antonio would not be facilitating her. Pirtle was there. White from Boston was there. Plus Gasol all vouch for her. We want the best coach with a winning mentality. Yeah, winning follows them. They're winning like at 70% winning with the WNBA team last year, and is her 1 year of coaching the Aces, 72% winning, and then the way she played as a player, that drive, that competitiveness, that really that hardcore competitiveness. In some ways, when you play board games with your family, sometimes your mom is the most competitive at the game, where she's kind of like, I really want to win. That kind of competitiveness can be very strong in women also, and especially if they have a chip on their shoulders like a Fred VanVleet would, because they're undrafted or they have something like they're female and they're coming into a male world. There's a little bit of overcompensating and a little bit more extra because you have to prove that much more extra, just like Fred had to get his career. Becky will have to do that kind of too also if she does take the job with us. So yeah. G saying Becky has a Kyle like game too. Like you mean like she plays like Kyle? She got a big butt. I don't know. That's what I just think of when I think of Kyle Lowry. All right, let's see. You know what? I'm just going to finish up, guys. We're at an hour and 12 minutes. Once again, really happy to see Jack Nicholson at the game courtside last night for the Lakers game. I'm sure that had an X factor to do with the good vibes in the building and helping them out. All right, I'm going to be monitoring today more about our coach search. And if I hear more about when people are getting interviewed or new names that are getting interviewed, always check out my spreadsheet if you're interested. It's a really good resource to look at who's available and where they're from and their backgrounds and stuff. Tomorrow, Sunday special report, we're going to talk about connectivity on this team. And the thing we're going to learn is that connectivity is not just important among the players. Connectivity is important among the coaches. So please join me tomorrow for a 60-minute style report, Sunday special report, connectivity with the Raptors. Where did it go wrong? And we'll tell you all about some of the things that have been divulged in the last day or so about why the Raptors season went so awry this season. Yeah. Like and subscribe, all W's. Thank you, Isaac. I appreciate it. Raptor Freaks community is awesome. I'm happy to be here. We appreciate you too, Wayne Strainer. All rookie team for this year. You and Sheer Khan are on that all rookie team together. I love it. Thank you guys for being here. All the best. Enjoy your Saturday. It's a little rainy in Toronto, but hopefully maybe it'll clear up and get some sunshine before the end of the day. And Fiercey, thank you. Winning stream. High five, high 10. Looking forward to tomorrow. She's got the popcorn out ready. Yeah, we're going to drop some stuff tomorrow about certain things and things that happen. Have a great day to you also, Edmund. All the best, guys. Let's go Raptors.